Hi everyone, welcome to Death Row Stories. I'm in front of the Huntsville Unit in Huntsville, Texas today. Very soon an execution should take place. James Broadnax is the one who will be executed today if he doesn't have a stay. It's a pretty crazy story. This young man is 37 years old and he's been convicted of the murder of Stephen Swan and Matthew Butler. It was in 2008, but just a few weeks ago, his cousin admitted those murders. So there's a question whether he will have a stay or not. His case is at the Supreme Court right now. Those murders took place 18 years ago. So he spent half of his life in prison and most of the time on death row. He committed a robbery that ended up with a double murder with his cousin. And it's his cousin, Demarius Cummings, who admitted those murders just a few weeks ago. It was in February, and we are right now April 30th, 2026.
I want you to make the scene come alive
Okay,
more than anything else.
okay, I'll do my best.
Your eyes and ears are a descriptive person.
Here there are, as usual, not many media covering this execution. There's a little team from CBS Dallas and a photo reporter from the Dallas Morning News. And we got protesters on each side of the Huntsville unit. On my left, you have about 30 people who are protesting this execution. And on my right, on the other side, you have about 20 people rather in favor of this execution. The victims' witnesses are inside. So there is the mother and father of one of the victims, Matthew Butler, who was 28 when he was killed. And there is also the Swan family. Stephen Swan was the other victim. He was 26, so his sister is inside, his father, his mother, his brother, and the husband of his sister.
Thank you, Francois. Thank you. That's good to know. That's good to know.
We've had James Broadnax witnesses going from the ITD building to the Huntsville unit. They are three, his wife, a friend of him, and his spiritual advisor. They just crossed the street and they are now in the Huntsville unit. We get news here.
Yes, Francois.
Some people are getting out of the unit.
Thank you. Thank you, Francois. We appreciate it. And so ends the life of James Broadnax.
His wife is getting outside. I got confirmation that the execution went through. His wife is now crying and crossing the street right now, going back to the building. She said he's gone.
Thank you, Francois.
She's very hurt, and someone is helping her to walk.
All good? Good.
Do what you can,
Okay.
and we appreciate you.
Amanda Fernandez. I am the Director of Communications for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. James Broadnax was executed today at the Huntsville Unit. During his last statement, he spoke of his innocence and spoke to his wife who was inside, saying that he loved her. And prayed to God for forgiveness. Any questions?
How did it go? Everything went through a normal process?
So as far as the actual part of the lethal injection, that I would say went normal with zero complications. The wife of Broadnax was very upset during the whole time, and so that was probably the most notable thing.
Because we were not inside, are the victims' family members and Broadnax family members? Are they in separate rooms or are they together?
Yes. So during an execution, the witnesses are in one room, and the condemned witnesses are in another room. The rooms are by each other, so the victim witnesses were able to hear his wife being very distraught.
Did Broadnax turn to face the window where his victims' relatives were seated when he apologized?
Yes, and the apology was more for pray to God for your forgiveness. So it was more for
I
that.
wasn't clear in whether
So
he turned. Did he turn to the family and ask for their forgiveness, or did he seem to just be asking God for forgiveness?
I would say more God, more general. He says, I pray to God for your forgiveness. Despite what you think about me, I hope to God that prayer was answered.
Did he ever turn to look at them?
Yes, during some of it. It was a little difficult to see, but we all in the media communication side do agree that, yes, he did briefly look at them and look at his wife.
So he read his statement and then was silent until the drugs took effect?
Yes. Prior to that, he did have a spiritual advisor in there with him who prayed.
And how did his wife express the fact she was unhappy with that situation? Can you be more specific?
Just very upset. I would defer you to the Huntsville item. They were the ones more documenting everything, but just visibly upset, screaming very loudly, as well as just talking most of the time. She did sit down at one point. We brought her over a chair just because she seemed to need it.
And do you have reports on how did the victims' families respond to these very these emotional outbursts?
Yeah, the word that was used was stoic. So they didn't have any response.
And was she screaming before they started the injection or during the injection?
She screamed whenever she went in there initially, and then as well as pretty much throughout the whole process, other than when he was giving his statement.
How long did it take?
Yeah, so let's see. He gave his last statement at 6:24. The lethal dose began at 6:26, and he was pronounced deceased at 6:47. So 20 minutes-ish.
Did you say visiting pain? Was he no? Can you describe the?
He just appeared to go to sleep. So there was no gasping or for breath, coughing. There was no shaking. Just went to sleep. No snoring.
So, thank you, Amin.
Thanks.
James Broadnax was executed here tonight in Huntsville, Texas, where I served as a media witness for the Dallas Morning News. It was an agonizing scene for Tiana. Oh my God, why do I keep doing that on that sentence? Let me start over. Okay. James Broadnax was executed tonight here in Huntsville, Texas, where I served as a media witness for the Dallas Morning News. It was an agonizing scene for his wife, Tiana, who screamed and cried when she saw him strapped to the gurney in the death chamber. It was so loud that what she was saying could be heard clearly by the families of the victims who were standing next door watching all of this go down. She said, "I love you" several times, and "I'm sorry I failed you." James then used his final statement to ask one more time for forgiveness from the victims' families. He talked about his case, saying Texas got it wrong, and that he hoped that this was a moment that would start a revolution. They don't tell you when they start the lethal solution, but it did seem to take hold for James about mid-sentence. He was trying to continue telling Tiana a few times, "Don't give up." On the third time, he only got through the word "don't" when he started to groan, something that is called the death rattle. and he was pronounced dead at 6:47. Let me do the last paragraph one more time.
He read his final statement. It says, in part, I prayed to God for your forgiveness. Despite what you think about me, I hope to God that prayer was answered. No, but no matter what you think about me, Texas got it wrong. So even until drawing his final breath, Broadnax insisting that he was not the trigger man, we are told that the family members of his victims remain stoic throughout. Not so for Broadnax's wife. Prison officials tell us that the woman that Broadnax married while he was in prison was visibly distraught throughout the proceedings. As she exited the prison, she screamed that the state of Texas has murdered my husband and insisted that no one has won. The case has attracted national, even international attention, with many high-profile rap artists coming to Broadnax's defense, arguing that his rap lyrics were used inappropriately against him in sentencing. The Supreme Court rejected that argument, as have the victims' families. In statements posted on social media, they call Broadnax a full-blooded killer, arguing that his attorneys were simply trying to rewrite history. His accomplice, Demarius Cummings, within the past month recounted his confession, saying that he was in fact the trigger man and not Broadnax. But the courts did not buy that argument, the Supreme Court refusing to stay the execution. Demarius Cummings serving a life prison sentence without the possibility of parole for his role in that double murder. In Huntsville, Robbie Owens, CBS News, Texas. We can make some of that work, don't you think?
Yeah.